So what happens when you win at everything you thought you wanted, but lose everything that matters? Well, that's the reality Tony was facing not too long ago. He was the VP of Business Development for a Fortune 500 manufacturing company, responsible for landing the big contracts that kept the company growing. I mean, by every measure, Tony was crushing it. He had closed over $50 million in new business that year, earned a nice office with big windows, got profiled in Industry Weekly as a rising star under 40, and was pulling down a salary that put him in the top 5% of earners. But success had come with a price tag that Tony hadn't calculated. I mean, to land those big deals, he developed a reputation for being ruthlessly competitive. I mean, he'd undercut colleagues to get credit for deals. He shared confidential information about competitors that probably crossed ethical lines, and he promised clients things he knew would be difficult for his company to deliver, figuring he'd just solve those problems later. Now, his personal life was collapsing under the weight of his professional ambitions. Tony was traveling 200 plus days a year. He was missing his daughter's soccer games, his son's school plays, and anniversary dinners with his wife. And when he was home, he was either on calls with clients in different time zones or too exhausted to engage meaningfully with his family. Now, the breaking point came on a Tuesday night in Denver. Tony had just closed a $12 million deal with a manufacturing client. It's the kind of win that would probably earn him another promotion and a bigger bonus. So he's sitting in his rental car outside a steakhouse, about to celebrate with the client over an expensive dinner, when his phone rang. It was his wife, Sarah. "Tony, Emma's been asking why Daddy doesn't live with us anymore. I told her you travel for work, but she said, but he's never here, even when he's here." Well, Tony felt something break inside his chest. His 8-year-old daughter thought he didn't live at home anymore. He said, "Sarah, you know it's just a busy season. Once I get that promotion." Sarah said, "Tony, you said that 2 years ago and the year before that. And we're tired of competing with your career for your attention. And honestly, I'm not sure we're winning." Well, after the call, Tony sat in that rental car for about 20 minutes, just staring at his own reflection in the window. I mean, he was about to celebrate the biggest deal of his career, but his family felt like strangers. He had industry recognition, but he'd lost the respect of people whose opinions actually mattered. The question that haunted him that night was simple. If I'm winning at everything I thought I wanted, why do I feel like I've lost everything that matters? Now, that moment became the catalyst for Tony to completely redefine what success looked like. Now, he didn't quit his job, but he did something harder. He started saying no to opportunities that required him to compromise his values or sacrifice his relationships. He turned down the promotion that would have required even more travel. He stopped pursuing deals that felt ethically questionable, even when they were lucrative. Now, initially, Tony worried that scaling back would hurt his career. But instead, something interesting happened. When he became more selective about the deals he pursued, well, his success rate actually improved. When he stopped competing with colleagues and started collaborating, well, his team's overall performance went up. When he committed to being home for family dinners and weekend events, his marriage began to heal and his kids started talking to him again. Now, a year later, Tony still had a successful career, but he also had something a little more valuable: the respect of his family and peace with the man he saw in the mirror. You know, Proverbs 3:13 and 14 says, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold." Now, this proverb is not anti-success or anti-ambition. It's pro-wisdom, the kind of wisdom that asks not just, can I achieve this, but should I achieve this? And what am I willing to sacrifice to get it? Now, Tony learned that wisdom has a different definition of profit and returns. The world measures success in dollars, titles, and recognition. But wisdom measures success in relationships, integrity, and the kind of person you're becoming in the process of achieving your goals. And notice, the proverb says, wisdom yields better returns. Not different returns, better returns. Tony discovered that when wisdom guides your ambitions, you still achieve at a high level, but you don't have to destroy everything else that matters to get there. So what can you do with Tony's story and this proverb? Well, first, audit your definition of success. Write down what winning looks like in your life right now. How much of that list is about external metrics versus the kind of person you're becoming? Now, make sure your definition includes things that will matter in 20 years, not just 20 months. And second, check if wisdom is driving your decisions or just ambition. Before you say yes to that next opportunity, ask, will pursuing this require me to compromise my values or sacrifice relationships that matter? And if the answer is yes, wisdom says to find a different path. And 3, make space for perspective beyond the pressure. So Tony's breakthrough came when he stopped long enough to really think about where his life was heading. Build regular time for reflection, prayer, or conversations with people who know you well enough to tell you the truth about what they're seeing. Well, this wraps up our Season 2 mini-season on leading under pressure. We've talked about receiving correction with grace, responding instead of reacting, choosing people over profit, avoiding the trap of comparison, and shutting down gossip, and defining success with wisdom instead of just ambition. But here's the big takeaway. Success without wisdom is just burnout with a bonus check. But success guided by wisdom, that's the kind that lasts and the kind you can actually enjoy. Hey, if this series helped you think differently about what it means to lead well under pressure, do me a favor. Share it with another leader who's trying to build something that matters without losing their soul in the process. So remember, your leadership isn't just about the results you achieve. It's about who you become in the process of achieving them. Thanks for joining me for another season. Stay grounded, stay faithful, and keep leading well. I'll see you next time.